I hope you enjoyed the first session if you were here. Our second session is actually going to be on an application that we've been working with the faculty on just for this past year. And before I introduce our actual speaker, I wanted to talk a little bit about the other department on campus that has actually made this application possible, because they've poured in so much time and effort into making this new resource available. I'm not going to reveal what the resource is too much yet, because I'll let our presenters show that. But before we get started, I do want to recognize a group from ITS, Information Technology Services. They have put an awful lot of time and effort into building a new open source system on campus. It's a resource for everybody, faculty, staff, and students. We're going to be showing it today from the faculty perspective and how it could be used in the course, but this is available to all of you now, or anyone on campus. For those who are off campus, this is an application that was built in Drupal. So if that is of particular interest to you on your campus, you may want to bring back some ideas to your campus. So again, before I introduce the folks in ITS, I wanted to let those of you who are new into the session know that the morning sessions end promptly at 11:50, and then we move over to Devlin Hall. And the other announcement is that we are using Twitter today for the event. So if you tweet on a regular basis, you can tweet along with us at hashtag eTeach09. But again, the IT folks who have been working on BCshare, this application, this collaborative set of tools that Professor Erik Owens from the Theology Department is going to be showing, is just a really neat and wonderful set of tools that are available to everybody on campus. And so I'd like to recognize the folks. They're all sitting in back here in a row. They have their own row. So if you wouldn't all mind standing for a second, just I wanted to recognize, this is... The group is led by Scott Oliveri, and in the group we have Bill McGee, Pete Yee, Chris Barney, Zoe Sadler, Kul Thapa, Jim O'Neill, Dave Lewis, and Sarah Jewell. So if you think you can go and do this on your own at home, you might want a team that takes up a full row. It's a lot of work, and they've been very dedicated to sort of the faculty and the instruction point of view, and have worked with us really closely to make sure that it's a tool that really works for instruction. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Professor Erik Owens from the Theology Department, and he's going to talk to us about BCshare. So thanks, Erik.
Hi and good morning. It's great to see everyone, and thank you myself to the IT crew. They do terrific work, not just on this site, but all across the university IT stuff. My other hat that I wear beyond teaching in the theology department is I'm assistant director of the Boisi Center for Religion and American Public Life here at Boston College, and we do all kinds of events, put all kinds of stuff online, and the IT staff has been terrific in helping us walk along the bleeding edge of technology as it's possible. So thank you to Scott and the team. And also, my point person on this project that I'm going to show you today has been Tim Lindgren, who has just been terrific, going out of his way to answer dumb questions and fix problems that I should be able to fix on my own. So, and the things that I could never have fixed on my own, of course, too. So thank you, Tim, for your help there. The course that I use this BCshare Groups for is called Ethics, Religion, and International Politics. It is infelicitously shortcutted, you see here, as this long term here. I use the ERIP acronym throughout. When you see it on the website, you'll see that that's what I'm going for. The class is a required course in the International Studies program, and it's also cross-listed in theology. The task of the class is to look at diverse religious and secular models for relating ethics to international affairs. And as you can see, the course themes revolve around religion and the political order, global ethics, the ethics of globalization, peace, violence, and the use of force. simple subjects that you can resolve in 5 or 10 minutes. The students that I get, I'll tell you a little bit about the students to give you a sense of how this is used and how they respond. The class has both deeply theoretical readings and practical case studies, and they're mixed in. Every day's class has a little bit of both. The students, as I said, are primarily seniors in the IS program, the International Studies program, which is generally a group of pretty motivated students. They're smart and high achieving and interested in the world around them. So initially I don't need to make a big sell about why they need to care about the world around them. But I do find that adding the theology component to this is quite a stretch for a lot of the students. They may have taken philosophy in the core or theology in the core or religious quest or something like that in the college. But nevertheless, few of them have had any sustained treatment of ethics, philosophical ethics, theological ethics, political and social thought as it relates to their core area of studies in political science and international relations. So this is something of a challenge for them, and I try to use this website and my teaching as a whole to demonstrate the relevance of these deeply problematic theories with the everyday world around us. And you'll see that as I go through some of the syllabus and some of the ideas. Typically this class has 35 to 40 students in it, so it's mid-sized, and it also has a smattering of international students, auditors, theology majors, and sundry other interested folks. But it fills up quickly because the IS students need to take it to graduate. So I'm going to demo today four main features of the website that I use. And it's all within this package called BCshare, which you can see the marker for up here in the corner. BCshare is a web-based collaboration and publishing tool designed to help the members of BC share content and collaborate with others online. BCshare automatically plugs into the other groups function. Its origins are unknown, but preceded my tenure here. And one thing that I can say about that is that you receive a group for every every class you teach, and your students are automatically populated as members of each of these groups. So there's not a lot of work at the outset to get your students to join your group. They need to actually log in themselves for the first time, but that's easy enough. The incentives are there to provide that. Other faculty around the university I know use this same application of BC Groups to collaborate on research projects with colleagues around the world or across the street, or to manage projects as Tim does, or Scott, sorry, with colleagues, a larger project management type of site. So you can use it flexibly in a wide array of contexts. For me, I find it's terrific as a course website. It's got all the tools I need for this. The splash page here, the main page when you enter the site is, and I apologize for not bringing any kittens or ducks or anything like that. I did ask Jeannie for fireworks, but she said the fire marshal ruled that out. So it will be simply a boring website demo, and I hope you'll find it accessible nonetheless. So you enter into this site through what is called the dashboard, and I'll just simply note right now the navigation features. It has drop-down menus for different sections of the class. I'll be focusing on the wiki and the blog, and I'll be digging into some of these group settings in a little bit. The more overarching settings are available up here in a neat Web 2.0 sort of style. So the dashboard here allows you to present your basic info about the website. In general, I found that I didn't use this that much. I put the links up here on this dashboard. The arrangement of it is not very flexible at this point in its development, and so images tend to push relevant information down, and you can't turn on and off certain features. So this is kind of a placeholder for me that didn't see much action throughout the year, and students generally went directly over to the wiki, which I will now start with. So I use the wiki. A wiki, first of all, for those of you who aren't aware of it, is a collection of web pages designed to enable anybody with access to contribute or modify content. Wikis are used to create collaborative websites like the eponymous online encyclopedia Wikipedia. is one massive wiki, right? The word wiki, by the way, is of Hawaiian origin, meaning fast, and so it means fast updates of websites without going through any sort of web editing process. The BCshare Wiki feature, like the blog that I'll be showing you, is powered by Drupal, as was mentioned here, which is an open open source content management system that our crack team at BC has been working on for a year and a half. Okay, so I use wiki pages for the core syllabus functions of the class. As you can see on the left-hand side, there's a navigation bar that is largely mirrored by this drop-down list here. At the beginning, I tell the students, I hand out a very basic syllabus at the first day of class, and then I say, when you leave this class, recycle this, because everything else we do related to your syllabus will be online. There's no more, it's outdated by the time they leave. And what I do, however, put on the opening overview of the syllabus is a set of course, all their readings and requirements, etc., but also a list of reputable sources to find more information about the topics we're discussing. Council on Foreign Relations, different blogs, information from major news magazines, journals, etc. All this is standard stuff and was not changed throughout the semester. The main feature of the website, the wiki, that as I've used it, is the syllabus, which I have divided up into 3 parts of the course. We'll jump over to this side. Each aspect of the course, as you can see, has a class number here, the date, the subject of the class, and a motivating question for why we're talking about this topic. And then almost every class has its entire reading list done through links here on this wiki. In this case, a chapter on Christian nonviolence. You'll see that it pops up when you have a 70 megabit connection here, which is great. Some students are a little bit slower, but you can download and print all of their readings. I have uploaded probably 150 different articles for students to read over the course of the semester. It meets 27 times, so they're doing a lot of downloading with this. Having the ability to upload these myself and to change them on a whim when new information hits or a new article comes out that I want them to read is simply terrific. These articles are stored either on My Files, which you may be familiar with, an online repository here at Boston College, or there's a small 20 megabyte section in this site that allows you to drop a few things in. When you're doing big scanned articles, that's not sufficient. But nevertheless, you link to them, and students click on them, and it's seamless for them. Now, as opposed to using the library's eReserve program with some wonderful and active people over there, when you have 150 different separate files constantly being updated, you can imagine it's a challenge to work with the library. They just don't care about me that much to spend 100% of their time uploading my information. And I'm happy to take charge of my own site. And so this is a win-win as far as I can tell. Using this site also provides a finer-grained level of access control than the library allows. At the library eReserve, anybody with a BC ID can download the information. Using this, it's locked into the people who are members of my group. Okay. So in terms of intellectual property, control of articles scanned from books and things like that, that's something that you don't have to worry about because your group is limited quite closely. I also, as you can see, over the course of on any given class, I tend to put a packet of news items up, the readings for the day. Let's go down to find one here, Christian realism. So you'll see a couple different articles. I'll combine a few articles from the news either recently or, whoops, stop scrolling. So at the end of, this is a good example. So at the end of class, we talked about the uplifting topic of torture. And torture, of course, has been in the news a lot for what we Americans have done and what we Americans ought to do about what we've done. And this became a core feature of this class on torture, as well as other classes about the question of justice and peace and the balance between the two. And as you can see, their readings for this day, April 27th, is loaded with articles from the past week, April 19th, April 16th, April 16th, along with a ton of other articles from previous periods, New Yorker articles, articles from Slate, more academic articles here, all combined to provide a package of information for them to dig deeper if they want to. Many students would come to class and talk about items deep in the suggested list because they were interested in them, they were immediately accessible, and they could see the relevance to the theories that we were discussing in class. I also tried my best, time permitting, to put my discussion questions, put some discussion questions up for each class. That didn't happen for each instance, but students have often said that I'm a little demanding in my reading assignments, and they could use a little help latching on to some topics for discussion. So I try to do that here and there, not only in the motivating question of the class, is torture justified in this case, but also more specific questions about the reading down there. And this syllabus, using a wiki for each of these classes, allows me to make each day's class assignment as lengthy with 20 bullet points here or 2 bullet points as I want, to change it the night before or 2 months before, and have that be a very, very flexible way to do an assignment. Obviously, because students have to come to class, have to go to this website to get all of their readings, my ambition is that they come for the syllabus and stay for the blog, which I'll explain to you in a minute. They have to come here. They're logging into the site to get their readings. There's no way around it. And what happens from there is part of the process of teaching and learning that I'd like to hear your suggestions about as well, and I'll explain some of my experiences. Okay, so we have these 3 parts of the syllabus, which are listed here in the course overview, which you've seen. I also put their paper assignments down here as a wiki, and you'll see that the actual assignment itself, all of these are in PDF format. Their question was, should Turkey join the European Union, thinking about the religious aspect of the question. And happily, 2 weeks after they turned in their papers, President Obama visited Turkey, not coincidentally, and so they were well prepared at their cocktail parties, or whatever they call it these days, to have this discussion over Pabst Blue Ribbon and say, you know what, I've got a thought about that. And in a small sort of way, that's the goal of the class, to give them some real, well, hopefully a more discerning understanding of which beer to drink, but also have some topics that they've thought about, some topics that matter, that matter in the world today, that they can say, I've put some real thought into these issues. And I think that having the flexibility of working this syllabus like this allows me to assist in that way. So you'll see that a packet of articles, websites that provide factual information for them to base their assignment on. The second one was about the justice of the Israeli incursion into Gaza. I also provided a space in the wiki for handouts that I gave out in class. I'll say this in a few minutes, but I don't use PowerPoint in class or anything like that. I'm incorrigibly old school in the classroom, and I'll explain a bit about that. But I do hand out pieces of paper with some key terms on them and things like that, but not the content of what we want to talk about. Because for me, my classes are about engaging with the reading, about discussion about the issues, and that can't be put on a PowerPoint slide for this kind of class, I think. I do, however, when I do give them out, I want students to all have access to them, so I'll post PDFs of those handouts here. The wiki, before we move on to the blog though, the wiki also provides a space for students to edit these documents. Now theoretically they could also edit my syllabus, taking out readings that they didn't like or adding ones that they do. None have seemed to figure that out or challenge the authority vested in that syllabus, so that is just a matter of time, I'm sure. However, I do encourage them to edit some of these wiki pages, and one of them is a campus events page, which frankly had mixed success as a online experiment this week. As I said, work at the Boisi Center, and we do tons of public events over the course of the year. So I made sure that on this one page we would post information. Oftentimes our lectures would follow the class, and I brought 3 of our lecturers from the Boisi Center to speak in our class that day, kind of cementing this idea that what we do in the classroom, has implications outside of it. Tried to drag them all by their collars to the lecture after the class. And the information about our lectures, but also all kinds of other lectures around campus, were placed in this wiki page here. As you can see, it's very simple for students to add their own campus events. And each day at the beginning of class, I would ask them, what's going on this week? What have you been to? What should we know about? What do you want to tell your peers about that's happening on campus about the issues we're discussing? And all they have to do is click the Edit tab here, scroll down and type in their event, and hopefully provide a link to more information or the website as well. And they click Save down here, and they've changed their site. They've changed this page. When you click on the Revisions tab, and this is true of all these wiki pages, you'll see the people who have edited the page, and you can roll back, current revisions or whatnot. It's a very simple process to edit these wiki pages, and I'll show you the highest trafficked wiki page that was edited in just a second. So related campus events, we even use the wiki page to, my wife and I like to host a barbecue at our house for my students each semester, and we used wiki page to make a rider board for people who needed to hitch a ride to our place. So it's used for frivolous things as well as more serious things. All right, but the biggest and most recent experiment here with the wiki has been on their final exam. I offer a threatening list of terms that they're responsible for their final exam, something like 60 or 70 terms, and some of which they need to write paragraphs about, and some of which they need to write short definitions on, as the first 2 parts of the exam with a big essay question at the end. I encourage them. I handed this page out, which oh, here it is. Here's the PDF here. Go back. I handed out a PDF in class, a printed page in class, that has all these terms listed on it. And I say, you need to define these terms to prepare for the exam. And a big gasp, emits from the class, saying, this is, crazy, this is too long. And so then I offer them the opportunity to say, well, I have always encouraged students to study together. So what I'd like for you to do, I've posted all of our terms here on a single wiki page. If you will contribute 2 or 3 terms yourself to everyone on the wiki page, then that's all you're going to have to do. If you trust your peers to contribute good definitions as well, you can be done with this in an hour rather than the 20 hours it will take to do this all by yourself. If you trust your peers, then this will work out great. If you don't, then you will smuggle good definitions or good study groups away from the group. Now, this is in the International Studies program, where they're very keen about game theory and about understanding commons problems, and prisoners' dilemmas and things like this. So I was very curious to see how this would work out. And as it turns out, it happened very late before the exam, but it did happen. And students went through every one of these terms and contributed very nice definitions. I have not read these definitions, I have to tell you, because I am still grading my exams, and I want to let each person have their own exam definition for me to grade. But I will pour over these after tomorrow and see whether they were good definitions or not. I did not police this site. But as you can see, it's a huge list of stuff, and when you go into the revision section, you'll see that there are a large number of students who contributed to edits here over the course of the class. Okay, so the incentive structures seem to line up well enough for them to work together on this particular assignment, and so far, I'm still in the middle of their exams, but so far I think that I can consider this a success on that front. I want them to study together because talking about these issues is much more important than memorizing anything in particular. Being able to work together is crucial, and to have conversations about this. This is what my class is about. The other thing I'll note about this is that when students decided to meet together to have a study group, and they had a 4-hour study group one day as a whole class, which I found it enormously heartening rather than sneaking off with their peers that they think were smart. They're 3 or 4 people. They all got together and met in the classroom, brought their laptops and plugged it in. But to set up that meeting, of course, they used Facebook and email, et cetera. So I think all of this will happen in multiple places. You know, they don't see this wiki or blog as the only place for them to communicate. But nevertheless, they were very engaged in this studying process used through the wiki. Okay. The other major aspect of the site here is the course blog. Now, the class contributed to the course blog throughout the semester, commenting on readings, campus lectures, daily news, and often by providing links to articles about topics that we had just discussed in class, sometimes in advance of the class, sometimes after the class, and often with a comment about this is, you know, crazy, or this guy is off his rocker, or this guy has got it exactly right, and this relates to the stuff we're doing in class. And as I mentioned, almost every day when I came into class, I would ask them, you know, what's happening in the world today? What are you interested in? You know, Billy, you blogged about this. Tell me about this article. And they would, you know, talk for a minute about what they thought was interesting about it. Now, of course, a blog, for those of you who consume blogs on a regular basis, you know that there are different levels of, you know, high-speed blogging, of somebody who does 20 times a day, others who do it once a week. And my students generally did not take blogging in this class to be their primary function in life. And so over the course of the semester, there were about 150 blog posts. A good fraction of which were from me and my TA. So I'd say students, I'll show you the statistics page in a few minutes, but I'd say students blogged about 75 or 80 times over the course of the semester collectively. So it wasn't a tidal wave of blog posts, but at the same time most were very thoughtful, like you'll see these, like you see these are. Some were shorter. Look how adorable the class is. I use the blog for postings about information as well, and things that are coming up, but also just interesting things that are, of course, related to the news. Now, for each blog, you can comment on them, and the comments. So if you click on the one of the blog posts, you'll go to a dedicated page with that blog post, and then below it is a space to comment on that post. On some sites, of course, you know, high traffic sites on the internet, the comments pages light up with thousands of responses. On some, you know, incisive social critics blogs, you see hundreds of comments. My students tended not to comment on each other's work. I encouraged my TA to provide comments when questions were explicitly asked in blog posts, and so he provided the bulk of the comments in the class. But there were probably 20 or so comments that were made by students on one another's posts as well. It didn't turn out to be that a fierce hotbed of debate underneath each blog post, but rather tossing out ideas for consideration. And we met twice a week and consistently talked about the blog post. So I think partly it's a time concern, partly it was students may not consider this to be their life's engrossing work, and partly it's because we talked about this stuff in class all the time. But the comment section was perhaps underutilized. I'm also not certain if students are nervous about critiquing one another's comments and things like this. I know that that's part of the issue, but encouraging them to have a conversation and try out ideas and things was a big part of the class. So I don't know if that reluctance was part of it. So comments could be made along each blog post, and each blog post can also be quote unquote tagged. I'm not sure how familiar many of you are about tagging. A tag is just a keyword assigned to a particular item, and in this case, the functionality to provide these tags came late in the semester, and so there's not a robust list of tags for the blog posts. But when you click here on Display Group Tags, it gives you what is kind of roughly known as a tag cloud. The words are bigger when they've been used more than once or many times. They get bigger and bigger, and smaller when they have only been used a single time. Now, last you can see some of the topics, some of the keywords that students use to describe, that I used to describe the posts that we made. Last year, when I was part of a pilot program to use the initial, yes, it's all of my New Yorker humor couldn't find a place on my current website. This is last year's class. But for our purposes here, you can see the tag cloud on the right is much more robust. Some terms are much larger than others, meaning that they were posted dozens of times. And as you again, just to show you that the things that are covered throughout the class that students tag are pretty wide array of things. Now on the tag cloud, you can click on any of these items, and it'll give you a list of the blogs that are given that tag. So it's a nice way for students to look back on how things have been discussed in the blog. Like many other Web 2.0 features, it 100% is based on how students describe these things, and I don't police these. So if they have a verbose description, you get lots of tags, and if they don't, you get fewer tags. But that's the way of the world. The last thing I'll mention about the blog is that a blog can be converted into an XML web page and thrust out for the wider world to look at in what's known as an RSS feed, which has various spellings of what that means. Generally, people call it really simple syndication or rich site summaries. But RSS feeds can be subscribed from other programs, and here is my RSS reader that I use. Is called NetVibes, and here, for some reason, the RSS feed didn't have full functionality this semester. So you'll see that I imported it into a reader of NetVibes. You can also use iGoogle or Yahoo or any number of RSS readers. And the idea is that you should be able to click on, you'll see a running list of all the blog posts, and rather than see the full page there, you'll just see the actual post itself. I think that's still the functionality is still being worked out on that. But that allows me, as a teacher, an easier way to flip through it on my phone or something like that to see who's been posting and when, without having to log into the website all the time. All right. One other main area in terms of assessment that is useful on this website is the member activity tab. In my classes, participation is a meaningful part of the course, but it's largely based around conversation in class. I do recognize, though, that the need for multiple ways to assess students. So we write papers, we have a final exam, and we have a participation grade. And within that participation grade, I tell them that I want them to be talking in class, but if they're not people who do that, they can contribute online. And here in this member and the member activity section, you can see a rundown of all the people. Of course, I'm the primary suspect on the revisions for everything, as well as blog posts, etc. When you click on my name, you can see a list of all of my posts, as well as wiki revisions here. But for people who, this is my TA, Jeremy Cruz, and for other people with a smaller listing, though, you can see exactly which ones they did. It has a nice pop-up box to give you most of their blog. So when you're reviewing, I just used this a couple days ago to give participation grades. I went down and looked at who was participating, who had revised wiki pages for their study groups, who had offered blog posts, etc. And for each one, you really can do a more finely grained analysis as well, and read each of these posts and see, what kind of quality they are. I did not require students to post here, and it may be that I change that in the future, but I'd rather things be as voluntary as possible. But for those of you who use discussion groups and things more actively, this is a terrific way to quickly look at how people have contributed and gauge the quality and do this sort of grading. It also provides a certain kind of a stick to students when you tell them, I know the last time you logged in, and I know exactly what you've done in this class, and that makes them, shudder with dread and log in when they get out of class. So that's a very useful thing. Now, as you can see, one feature that would be nice would be the ability to sort these by and I know the IT people are listening, would be the ability to sort these by posts, revisions, comments, etc., so that you can assist in who are my, heavy hitter contributors, etc. But nevertheless, this is still a terrific layout for understanding these things. It ended up that there were 156 blog posts this semester, about 1.5 a day over the 100 days of the class. About half of them came from me or my TA. Students, when you take away our posts, students posted on average 2 blog posts every 3 days. So, 2/3 of a post a day. You can see, if you scroll down and looked at this enough, that there are 5 or 6 pretty active bloggers. Another 15 or 20 who posted 1 to 3 times, and 8 or 10 who didn't post anything at all on the blog. And of the comments, 50 comments or so, the majority came from a combination of me and my TA. And that, again, I talked about as a matter of, I'm not quite sure their interest in using the comments, but that's fine with me. Okay. Wrapping up here, this is the primary use of technology that I use for the class. I have used Google Earth to zoom in and use overlays to show people about conflict zones we're talking about, or particular geographic spaces that are interesting. I used this nifty little open source voting program for, I told you we have a class barbecue at our house each semester. This little thing allows students to vote, to drag and drop their selections, and then cast their vote. And for those of you statistics people, it provides about 6 different methods of analyzing their votes. Here, the Schultz method seems to win, but you can go to Condorcet or whatever, and it gives you a listing of all of their votes. It's actually very handy to make it simple, rather than ask people to raise your hand or commit to things or whatever, to vote on something like this. Of course, you can use it for things much less frivolous than this, and I intend to do so in the future, unless there's a polling feature built into Drupal that I'm not aware of. What else was I going to say about that? Finally, just to wrap up here in a couple minutes before we open up for questions. I have a bit of a confession in the sense, and I've hinted at it before, that while I'm a heavy user of technology in my life, and in this course, the classroom itself is not loaded with technology. I'm a old school sort of text-based, conversation-based sort of teacher. And for those of you who feel that you have a kindred spirit or teaching style, I would just suggest that you don't need to eschew technology, as a whole, because you prefer to have a certain kind of conversation in your classroom. You're here, and so you're unlikely to be those people. Preaching to the choir is one of my specialties. But nevertheless, I almost never bring my laptop to class. If there were a computer built in, I might use it more in the classroom than I have. But it's a hassle to lug, and frankly, I think it distracts people's attention away from the conversation that I want many to many and one to many to happen. And so I rarely bring my computer to class. But I do love technology, and none of the stuff that I've done is done for the gee whiz factor. Obviously, it's flat. There's no fireworks or multimedia really built in there, although when I find useful things, I link to them on YouTube or whatever. I find that this website, the BCshare in general, helps me to manage an enormous flow of content, both in terms of the reading material and linking to the outside world, finding articles every day that they should be interested in, and provide collaborative tools that people can use to continue the conversation outside of the classroom all the time, so that we are meeting for 3 hours a week, but we're talking about this 7 days a week throughout the course of the semester. And I find that enormously satisfying and exciting as well. So areas for improvement here. IT staff, take notes. This isn't your fault. Student interaction. I think students could be prodded or encouraged to be a little more active in blogging, commenting, things like that. I can't entirely change incentive structures. I don't want to require them to post 4 blog posts a week or something like that. I'd rather have quality over quantity. But nevertheless, that has been something that could be improved. I think in terms of site development, the dashboard could be improved, the layout could be more flexible, and I'd love to be able to turn off features like forums and albums that I am not using, because it sometimes confuses students, especially at the outset, as to where they should put their stuff. And I think that usability improvements could be brought to the site. Menus could be customized, dashboard items could be moved around, images could be dragged and dropped, blog posts could be more easily tagged, member activity data could be sorted, and hopefully they could be able to subscribe to a reliable media-rich RSS feed. But overall, I have to say that this has been enormously satisfying to use, and as you can see, it's pretty simple. It's just a matter of putting the time in to format and get that information. So I welcome your questions, and hope that you'll also share some of your experiences using similar things in the classroom. Thanks. Yeah.
But one of my experiences with a wiki in the past that was not successful was I teach math, and presenting the class with a problem to be solved at home. I would like there to be able to post an answer that was effectively available to myself and to them only for a period of time, and then open it up to the public. What I found was that the smartest kid jumped on the opportunity, published a solution, and everyone else was intimidated away from doing that. This seems to be one of the things that I would add to the IT list of things to get done. Access to these pages seems to be something that has yet to be explored.
That makes a lot of sense to set it, to embargo a publication for hours or days and things like that, and to have an administrator have access to that, I think would be useful. You could release on the same functionality would allow you to release the exam at a certain time rather than posting it yourself or things like that. But duly noted, I'm sure. In terms of
Brown said that his site he can do that.
Really?
So this is not.
Oh, I'm not suggesting it's impossible. It might be very easy. I don't know. In terms of the access to the wiki, though, I completely agree that it's very tempting for students to want to dig into your syllabus and change things. But I guess the biggest impetus is that they just don't care. They don't. Why would it would take a little effort to go in and be creative and sabotage something and link something different. And the revisions. What's that?
Someone said on Twitter that you can document who goes in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Each page has a revisions tab that is transparent, accessible to all, that says who edited and what. Now, as far as I can tell, you can't tell. It doesn't track the differences in terms of highlighting what exactly they changed. I don't know if that's accurate, but in the in my collaborative study guide, I don't think I could tell which student hit 20 themes, 20 definitions, and which did 2 or something like that. But you can see if they touched it and roll it back pretty easily. So you can defend it in a way that Wikipedia allows you to defend things. Yes?
I have a question for you and then a question for teaching. One is, was it fairly, you actually didn't show us the process of building the site. In terms of linking the files, uploading files, is that fairly simple for you?
Yeah, I can show you that really quickly. You pick a part 3. If I wanted to link to the word nonviolent, I would go into the edit mode first. I would double click on a term, click the link button, and then tell it where to find something. Now you could either type in a URL here of something from my files. Say if you wanted this paper here, you could get a link to it in my files, copy that here, and go back to your, paste that in, and that will come up from my files when you say this. You could also link internally to all your pages as well. So here that downloads this page, like that. So it's pretty simple to do linking. You need to find a repository that's robust and be confident in managing these long URLs and stuff.
But you need to upload things to your my files first.
You can browse your desktop. The downside of browsing your desktop, if you wanted to change this link to be something on your own desktop here, you go to browse and find a file. I want to find one that's 300 megs or anything. This is just a link, so it's blank here. And you upload it. This has a quota of 20 megs, which I know the IT staff has talked about what to do with that, whether that should be reduced to 0 or I make everyone store on my files or whatever. Drupal has its own little repository here that I use for quick adds the day of or things like that, so I don't have to do the two-step process.
Yeah.
But it does put it up there. You see it highlighted in green, and then you say add, and it updates that link for you.
The repository is small. Right, for
The internal one.
Yeah.
The internal one is, but if you use my files, I think faculty have unlimited my file slots.
And then the other question I had, I don't know if you've used Blackboard, but also for IT, this is so elegant and so visually I find it just much more coherent than my Blackboard in this sites in any case.
Yeah.
Is there any bullet presentation you give on the pros and cons of using this rather than Blackboard? Are there things you can do with Blackboard Vista that I would lose if I went over to this kind of
We really, as we do with any of our technologies, start off with your pedagogy and figure out what you're trying to accomplish with your pedagogy and determine what the best tool will be. It may be using both of these tools together or one, but we can sit down with you and go through the advantages and disadvantages of both systems and think through what the best one is.
What are you doing at 4:30?
Workshop.
I never use Blackboard for the very reason you're discussing. I just don't. I think it's difficult to use personally, and students are used to seeing this kind of functionality on the internet and Facebook and all these other sorts of things, and this seems like a natural way to zoom around things. But obviously it has terrific features and capabilities. It's just that the interface is something that I dislike and didn't want to use, but other people have used it to great success.
We get an invitation to that barbecue?
Yeah, next year I smoke pork shoulders, and you're all welcome. All right. Well, any last questions? Yeah.
If you've taught the course before, especially, how would you compare the effect that using the system has had on what happened inside the classroom? The discussion, your awareness, how is it affected?
That's a good question. The first time, this is only the second time I've taught the course, and the first time I used that pilot wiki program that I showed you. So both times there was some component of this. The last one wasn't as robust as the one that I did this semester. I find that students, really enjoy seeing the connection. They're used to surfing the web for information. When they're able to see newspaper articles that relate to the topic of the day, they bring that into class, and we talk about that. My goal for the class is always to get them to understand some of the moral and ethical theological questions at play. And that link, as I mentioned at the outset, is a bit of a stretch for security studies people and political scientists and things like that. And having some of this stuff online and having a professor or a peer put an article up, for example, a news article that says, here's an illustration of a moral dilemma as reported by X in a particular situation. We've just read a 60-page article about the complexities of this moral dilemma. And now here's a case study. I mean, you want a case study, this is it. It's not from Harvard Business Review. It's right here in our lap every day in the news. And I found that to be very powerful for students. Sometimes they need to be reminded that these are case studies and not just articles or assignments. Every day is a case study, and it eventually sinks in, I think, and they find it really satisfying. Yes?
When I had a cranky Mac at
Great. I'm a Mac guy, too.
My files is very difficult to load folders, large numbers of things at once. You have to drag the files up there one at a time. And you must have hundreds of things up there that need to be dragged up one at a time.
Unless you call Tim Lindgren, who has the eTeaching liaison, who has master access to drag and drop. You can port things over from semester to semester, and they stay in your repository, and you can sort it. But you're right. I don't know if that functionality will change in the future, but it is tedious, and it's tedious to generate links as well, to cut and paste links from my files into this. And when you have probably 500 different links across these pages, it's a lot of time that I logged on the site. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Last question.
I'm a visitor today from another university, and I'm
Okay.
really curious to hear a little more about the BC files. I see that it's a nice repository. I hear that you'd like to be able to load more files at one time. What is the platform for it? Is it Drupal?
Cycles.
It's a product called Cycles
Yeah.
that we customize, or another team that ideas customizes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you all.
class that has all these terms listed on it. And I say you need to